Good evening, YouTube viewers and subscribers. And yes, it is evening, and yes, I am wearing glasses on my face. I know you've not seen that in many moon. These are not prescription glasses. It's nighttime, and these are blue blockers, and I am working to try to get some more sleep. So I'm going to be wearing blue blockers when the sun is down. So enough of that. On the table today, I've got this Fox Eagle 474 engine once again, and I had just done a recent video or a quick look video where I was like, found the metal shavings in it. So I cleaned it all up and I put it back together. I don't know why, but I did. I put it all back together and put this muffler back on here just to make it kind of look like this is a do-over. But this thing is just, it still has my heart. It's got really, and I feel pretty confident in doing this time. It's got really nice compression. That's the only reason I put that prop on there, is just to flip it for you a few times. Now I'm going to take the prop off, but listen to this. I want to show you something, or listen. You hear that? That's the sound of a really shitty crescent wrench. And yes, this is one from Harbor Freight, made in China. It's a Pittsburgh Tools one. Anytime you hear that on a crescent wrench, it means it's a piece of garbage, because it doesn't hold its settings at all. So anyway, that was just a slight digression. I'm going to go ahead and take this thing off. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to do a look inside, because this engine is really unique. I like it a lot, and even though I was a little disturbed when I was cleaning out the metal shavings the other day, I was still enamored with this engine. And I'm not a super die-hard Fox engine guy at all, but for whatever reason this one is really kind of captivating me, and I'm not really sure I can explain why that is, but it is. So again, Fox engine, everything is standard, which is why I have to use this, because I don't typically have standard tools up here, because 99% of the engines I disassemble are metric. I'm not going to take the carb off. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take the head off, and I'm going to take the rear cover off, and I'm going to separate it here. So this is one of the things that I think is so awesome about this engine, is very unique. It's almost Sato-like, where you can disassemble, just take this upper portion of the head off. And that's all I did when I cleaned it out the other day, was I just took that part off, because I could tell none of those shavings got down in there, in the lower portion. And it also didn't screw up the gasket, which was nice. So this is a new but run engine. And I kind of said that in the last video, and you may be like, if you're watching this for the first time, how does that work? Well, it works like this. In the 70s, 80s, and I guess maybe in some of the 90s, I'm not sure how old this engine is, many engine manufacturers used to actually run their engines prior to shipping them. OS used to do that, at least in the 70s for sure. Maybe they stopped it in the 80s, but I know they did in the 70s. Guys had plenty of early 70s OS engines that were brand new, yet run, or gummy. So Fox Engines was always one of those companies that always ran their engines. And what they'd do is they'd run it up to speed and preliminarily set the carb up. So that basically what you could do is, and I think they used to even advertise this, you can just take it out of the box, put it on your plane, and fly. And that was true for the most part. They would have the high-speed needle set. You might have to do a little bit of low-speed adjustments based on whatever fuel you were using. But that was about it. So I just kind of screwed up a little bit here. I wanted to take the head off here, and instead I took all of that off. So let's see if I can just get these screws loosened up and take this off and pretend like I didn't take those screws out of the lower portion yet. Because this is one of those engines that's very similar to Rossi. So it's got characteristics of Sato and Rossi, which is what is kind of really interesting about this engine. So it's got a Rossi type head, whereas this part, that the upper cooling fins part, is just a ring, and it's got a button where the glow plug sits. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm leaving that glow plug in there, because the first time I took this head off, I was like, I took the glow plug out thinking, and then it was kind of a pain to pull that button out because it was a rather tight fit. So I figured now it's a lot easier if you leave that glow plug in, you just grab it by the glow plug. The thing that's also kind of cool about this is I just came back from that West Bend swap meet, if any of you watched that video, and I scored a whole bunch of glow plugs, and at least 6 of those plugs were Fox Miracle plugs. Well, I used to use Fox Miracle plugs in 2 and 4-stroke engines years ago, and they worked really well. So now I got a bunch of those because, believe it or not, it has been on my mind lately about, well, this button thing came off with it, there we go, about glow plugs and how I hadn't invested in any glow plugs. Now I still had some new ones that have never been opened, but still it was kind of like, the prices of those things are going up. I'm a glow head, I need glow plugs, so that score at the swap meet was awesome. So here's our head ring, and then here's our little combustion chamber top. Now, the things that make, so the Clarence Lee article, when he did a review of the 60 and the 74 because there's no external numbering on these things that let you know whether it's a 60 or a 74. So the ways you can tell one from the other is the bowl or the dish here on the button head for the 74 is smaller than it is for the 60 size engine. The other way you can tell, which is how I discovered the metal shavings, is you look in the port window here, and I can just take it out. It'll be a lot easier. Just go ahead and pop this thing off. Pop that thing off, and let me zoom in just a bit here more. No, that's like all I'm going to get. If there's 4 windows in there, which there are, it's a 74. And obviously you could measure the diameter of the piston if you've taken it apart to this level too. Whereas the 60 has 3 ports in the exhaust window. So, and I did also lube this thing up. So this is the thing here. I want to take this rear cover off too, and maybe I'm just kind of going about all of this bass backwards because of these glasses. But I'll take this rear cover off and hope that that gasket stays intact. Also, these didn't feel all that tight. I didn't touch this rear cover, but those didn't feel super tight, so that's interesting. Maybe the reason for the metal shavings is a friend of mine, Calvin, who actually talked to Duke Fox before and went to their facility twice, said maybe the person that packaged this engine up was just having a really bad day and they just hosed up. I mean, shit happens, right? Okay, that's cool. Alright, so here our rear cover is off. And look at this thing. Look at how beautiful that is inside. Oh, it's got a really interesting counterweight shape. See how it's straight there and it's kind of got a little kick up on this side? It's interesting. Let me pull this thing off here and see if this is a bushed. Yeah, it's a bushed. That was the front. So here's the other thing that's really odd about this that I was noticing the other day, was that it's a ringed piston, and for the life of me, I sat here with a magnifying glass. I couldn't find a pin in the... Hi, Sasha. Well, let's see. Let me zoom out here. Hi, Sasha. Come here. You want to look in the camera? Look up here. Hi, baby. Yeah, I'll be done here in a few minutes, and then we'll go play, all right? It's that time of night. Sasha needs attention. But anyway, so I was sitting here rotating this thing around thinking, well, why? I thought, obviously incorrectly, that every two-stroke ringed engine would have a pinned ring. And Calvin kind of informed me that that's not necessarily the case. But the thing that's really strange about the fact that, and it's got a nice drilled oil hole here in the connecting rod. Oh Man, this is the first time I've worn these glasses, so it's like trying to see what the chamfered side is. I think that oil hole goes towards the outside or the inside. Yeah, one of them. Anyway, he said that not necessarily, but the thing I think is really unusual about that is, let's see if I can show you this, is that this head or this sleeve has ports all the way around it. So you got 4 here for the exhaust, and then you've got one right here, and then you got 3 more here, and then another one here. So you got a total of 4, 5, 9 ports in this sleeve, but you don't have a pinned piston ring. So it's like and when I pulled this thing off the first time, I noticed that the gap, because I was paying special attention to that, I noticed that the gap was facing forward towards right in line with the prop. And I'm looking like right in line with the prop, and maybe I think I understand it now. That's why. That makes complete sense now. So yeah, the gap needs to go towards the front, because the one port that's, I don't think you're going to be able to see this, the port that is on the front there, it's lower. It's down below the location where the piston ring would go. So that's why it was facing forward. So excellent. So I just learned something. Maybe you all already knew that. So it feels a little stiff when I turn it over, and I think that's probably because it was run, and when I cleaned this thing out, I didn't, throw a whole bunch of oil in there, which I can put a little bit of air tool oil in here now. Sasha wants to play with her racetrack, so when I'm done here, I'm going to have to go turn the racetrack on. I turned it off because it would have been a huge distraction listening to that. Yeah, and maybe I can put a little quick video up here of her playing with her racetrack, at least the first racetrack. I think I got a video of the second racetrack too. She destroyed the cars, and the second racetrack was free, so I didn't have to pay $40 a car to get new cars. It came with cars, so. So this is just tight. One of the things I might do here off camera is maybe just heat this up a little bit. So anyway, this has been an interesting look inside of this Fox Eagle 4 74-inch that pardon me, that I am just absolutely in love with, and I really wish I could explain why. The other thing is that it came with this slimline pit style muffler, which I don't really care for. I never cared for pit style mufflers anyway. I went ahead and I made the investment. I paid $45 to Mikoa because they still have in stock or whatever, actually mufflers for this engine. So I believe I got a tilt up one because it was funny, because on eBay, their Mikoa listing on eBay said there were 9 available for the tilt downs. But then when I went to the Mikoa site directly, it said they were sold out of the tilt down, so I got the tilt up. Here she comes again. Hey, Sash. I know. Give me a few more minutes, okay, sweetheart? And don't lose a screw. So I was like, well, if I order the one from eBay that's a tilt down and they're really out of stock, even though eBay says there's 9, I wonder, do they allocate a certain number to sell on eBay and then they allocate some to sell through their website? I have no idea. So I really wanted the tilt down, but I ended up buying the tilt up muffler from Mikoa just to make sure, because it said it was in stock. I'm not sure if it was any cheaper or not. But anyway, enough of that. Enough rambling. that's the end of this look inside of this Fox Eagle 474 engine that I am just super stoked about. And I will get this on the stand eventually at some point because that's what I do. And ooh, there's Sasha again. I am done now, Sasha. I must conclude this video because my girl is really becoming a pain in the butt. So thank you all for watching.